Hello and welcome back. This is the absolute basic beginner's guide to Blender, and this is lesson number 2. Today we're going to have some fun doing some modeling, making some shapes. Make sure you subscribe. Get ready for all the courses and lessons coming up soon. So here we have our default view as we open up Blender with our default cube. First thing we want to do is let's change our view from solid view, and we'll change it to the rendered view. Right, so the first thing we want to do is to first get the cube selected and delete it. So X and enter. So we can show you how to add these basic shapes. All right, so now we have nothing in our scene at the moment, but right down at position 0, 0, 0, we have a 3D cursor. This is on point 0 of x-axis, point 0 of the y-axis, and of the z-axis. That's the middle of our scene. The 3D cursor will determine where new objects are placed. So wherever that 3D cursor is, that's where a new object is going to be dropped. If for some other reason this 3D cursor moves away from position 0, we can just press Shift C and it will return itself to 0. Over here we're looking for this add button. Click on the add, then choose the mesh option, and now we have a couple of mesh objects that we can slap into our scene. So we have plane, we have a cube again. We've used the cube before, so let's use something else. Let's use the UV sphere. So click on that, and it drops a UV sphere onto the 3D cursor in the scene. We are currently viewing this object in object mode. If we want to start changing the look of this object, we can go into edit mode by pressing the tab button. Now we start seeing the skeleton or the mesh of the object. To go back to object mode, we just press tab again. So hitting tab, we can go back and forth between object mode and edit mode. While in edit mode, now we see what the object is made up of. And it's as follows. We have vertices, which are these points over here. When two vertices are joined, we have an edge or a line. And when we have multiple vertices joined, we have a face. So we have vertices, edges or lines, and faces. Now we do have options of which ones we would like to view or select under the edit view. So up over here we have these three icons. At the moment the left one is selected, that's for vertices. If we select the middle one, this is now edges or lines. So now we're choosing lines. And the last one is for faces. So now we're choosing faces. Now, please note that when we choose a face and go back to the vertex view, we're choosing all the vertices that make up that face. So those four there. Most times we're going to be modifying or moving more than one vertex at one time. So when we choose one, and that's with our left mouse click, and we want to choose any other vertex, we have to press Shift and then click on it with the left mouse button, and this allows us to add multiple vertices to our selection. If I want to choose a line of vertices, I first select the first one with the left mouse, and then I press Control before selecting the endpoint, and that's chosen all the vertices in a line. If I want to choose all the vertices in the entire mesh of this object, I press the A button and it selects them all. Let me choose a few here. I'm going to use the Shift key so that I'm selecting more than one vertex. To invert the selection, I can press Control and I, and it selects everything except what I've selected first hand. To go back to my original choice, I just press Control I again to invert the selection. Back to where we go. Just as we learned to move, scale, and rotate objects as a whole, we can do the same with individual parts or vertices of an object. So with these selected over here, if I press G, which is move, and then X along the X-axis, with the mouse I can move these vertices out. To return them or to cancel the operation, I use the right mouse button GX. And if I'm happy with where it is, I can press the left mouse button to secure the position. Go out of edit mode, and this is now what our object looks like. Of course, to undo that, we will just have to Control Z. Let's choose this one up here. GZ. All right, so let's go back into object mode and delete this sphere, X. And we're going to add our next mesh item. And over here, we're going to use shortcuts again. So we can either press this button up here for add, or the shortcut, it says there, shortcut is Shift A. So Shift A brings me my mesh options. We've got a plane, a cube, circle, etc. We're going to use a cube. But now, very important, check this out. Once we press Shift A, under the mesh M, we have an underline, which means the shortcut for mesh is M. And the shortcut for cube is a C. So I can just press Shift A, M, C, and it places a cube in the scene. Enter edit mode by pressing the tab key, and we can see what the cube is made up of. As we can move, scale, and rotate vertices, we can also delete them. If I choose these 4 vertices and press X, I get asked by Blender, what exactly do you want to delete? And there's your options: vertices, edges, faces, only the edges and faces, or only faces. If we choose vertices, it removes the vertices, which means it removes everything else that was attached to those vertices. Let's Control Z and bring that back. Now let's try that and give it a different answer. So we're going to press X and tell Blender we only want to remove the face. Now the vertices stay there, and what we've basically done is we've created a box. So you have to be specific with Blender. When it wants to delete certain things, you need to tell it exactly what to delete. So let's undo that again. Change into face mode, choose this face, press X. Blender wants to know what would you like to delete. Say only the face, and we now have our box with a lid on the top. Let's go into the edge or line view and choose this edge here. We press X. Blender wants to know what would you like to delete, and we're going to delete only the edges and faces. So because the edge is gone, it made up part of this face, so the face disappears as well, but we have our vertices still in their positions. To make an edge between 2 vertices, we choose them both or select them both, and to join them we press F, and that'll make an edge. To make a face again out of these 4 vertices, we choose all 4. And just as we made an edge by pressing F, we're going to choose F as well to make a new face. Just undo that, and I'll show you if we miss one. So let's say we by mistake only choose 3. The face is going to look like that. So make sure we choose the correct vertices. Make sure we choose them all. 2, 3, 4, and we've created a face. If I want to close up this box, then of course we want to close up by making a face around these 4 vertices. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we closed our box again. If we change to edit mode using our tab key, we can see that we don't have too many vertices in this mesh. Sometimes we want to have a little bit more information or a little bit more options to move and shape this object, so we can create more vertices on the mesh. First of all, to choose all the vertices, press A. Then we're going to right click and look for the option Subdivide, and that is over there. Click on that and you see we now have many more vertices installed in our object. At the same time, this block appears over here. Click on that block and we can change options here too. Number of cuts is 1, so if we take that and change it to 3, you see we get even more vertices installed. If we go up to 20, then we get a lot more information, a lot more detail. However, the more vertices we create, the more resources we take from the computer, so be careful of making too many subdivides in a scene. Let's undo this. Right click, look for subdivide. Again, if you see subdivide, you'll see a S has been underlined, which means that after we right click with the mouse button, the shortcut is going to be an S. So let's choose all, right click S. I can change the amounts of cuts in here, or I can just right click S again, and we've now subdivided it once more. So let's say I want to select this entire row of vertices going around here, the second one from the top. The first way I can do it is just starting with one, pressing shift and going around, but this is going to take time. So not really the solution that we're looking for. It does work. Another way I can do it is between two of those vertices. Before I select it, press and hold Alt, and then press on that with the left mouse key, and it selects the entire row. Let's look at a front view. And I want to select all of these over here, as well as the ones below. Now I have a tool where I can press B, which is B for block, and I can select it over the entire area. Now it's selected that row and that row as well. However, if we turn the cube around, we can see that we've only selected what was visible to us. So the other vertices in the back or on the sides have not been selected. One for front view. Let's change something up. We're going to go up here. We're going to change this to wireframe view and do the same operation. Block with a B. Make the selection, and this time all the vertices have been selected. Another neat tool for selecting vertices is to have a starting vertex, so let's say over here, and you can expand the selection by pressing Ctrl plus or Ctrl minus. Choose this one, Ctrl plus or Ctrl minus. Let's go ahead and make a few changes to our cube. Let's select that one and plus, and let's move that up on the Z axis. Let's select that one and plus, move it on the X axis. GZ, GY. Let's select this entire row, Alt, left click, and scale it. At this stage, if this is what you wanted to create and you plan to work further on this object, go ahead and make a duplicate. So Shift D, press enter, and it makes a duplicate in exactly the same place. Here on the right hand side in the scene, we can see our original one was called cube, and the duplicate has been called cube.001. Now I'm just going to move this so we can see what I'm trying to explain. We have I over here, which determines whether the object that we're looking at is visible or not. So if I click the eye off, that object disappears. My duplicate, which is this one that's been selected now, which is cube.001, if I press the eye, we hide that away. But now we're left with a camera icon over here. The camera icon means that That object, although we don't see it in the viewport, will also get rendered when we render the scene. So if we want to make sure that's completely gone, we have to unclick the camera icon as well. If we continue changing this model and we are unhappy with something we've done and we're not able to go back, we can always delete this one and go back to our duplicate cube and work on this. As we advance and happy with the results on this, we can just make another duplicate and carry on. Duplicates are your kind of backup. Also very important that you save your work often on Blender. So if we go to File and Save As, we get options of where we would like to save files, what to call them, etc., etc. Try to keep all your things together in one folder so you know where to find them, and just save. Every time you do something, every time you make some progress, hit Ctrl S and this will save your work. Blender can crash if you're really asking a lot from your computer and you don't want to lose any hard work that you've done. And that, folks, is a basic overview of mesh and how to change vertices, edges, and faces. Next time around, lesson number 3, we're actually going to start modeling specific shapes and adding some basic shaders. So make sure you subscribe, give us a like or a comment, and we will see you soon.